We've seen a lot of unrest and violence over the past few days, and it will probably continue for, at least a couple of more days here in the United States after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis last week. But then the rioters moved in, and now it's time for you to be able to protect yourself. Hey everyone, I'm Chad Hasty, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. Two things can be true at the same time. The death of George Floyd is unacceptable. The knee from the officer on the neck of George Floyd for nearly 8 minutes, maybe longer than 8 minutes, totally unacceptable. And the officers who just stood around were complicit in what happened with George Floyd. That is the truth. That is absolutely 100% accurate. It's also 100% accurate that rioting and looting is absolutely horrible, and beating up innocent people is absolutely terrible and not a way of peacefully demonstrating here in the United States. I've got no problem with people who decide to demonstrate and march and protest as long as they're doing it peacefully. Now, I'm not a fan of people blocking highways or intersections or anything like that. But I'm a bigger fan of that compared to, looting and setting buildings on fire, setting churches on fire, beating up innocent business owners and homeowners because they don't agree with you or they don't look like you. This is a time for all of us to really think about our own one, personal responsibility, but also personal security. I've seen so many videos of people who have been harmed. I saw a post over the weekend out of Rochester, New York, where all it said in the video was an elderly woman and her husband. So I'm not sure how old the woman was, but a woman who was outside of her store as 3 or 4 guys started beating the crap out of her with like 2x4s. Her husband comes out armed with a golf club and tries to poke at the guy. He's like, "Hey, that's my wife. Stay away from my wife." And of course, they turn on him and start beating the crap out of him. He would have been better served if he would have had a shotgun ready to go at those people who were beating up his wife. You look at what happened in Dallas. The guy who had, I guess, a machete ran after the mob of people. Why are you running after people with a machete? And then the guy in Salt Lake City who had a bow and arrow. You're not Hawkeye. You're not a Marvel character. You're not going to win that battle, my friend. Listen, folks, if you're worried, if you're concerned about your personal security, your personal safety, now is the time to be armed. We don't know what's going to happen in more rural areas. We don't know what's going to happen in the suburbs. We know that right now cities are very dangerous places to be across the United States. It's time to carry your firearm. For those of you who have a license to carry, you should be carrying every single day. I had a listener of mine, a Twitter follower, who does not have an LTC, said that, I feel fine. I feel safe most of the time. I've never thought about even carrying a gun. Let me tell you this, as someone who does have a license to carry, as someone who is armed, and as someone who does carry just about everywhere I go, I can tell you this, 99% of the time, I feel safe. Not because of the firearm, but because I don't go to places that aren't safe. 99% of the time when I travel, either within Texas or Lubbock or the United States or internationally, I feel safe. I feel fine. The reason I carry is for that 1%, that one slight percent chance that I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. There have been videos of people, protesters, rioters, who have surrounded vehicles and rocked the vehicles back and forth. What are you going to do if that's you? What if you're going to Dallas this weekend? What if you're going to a major U.S. city this weekend? What if those type of protesters end up here in Lubbock, Texas, and you're at an intersection at 19th and University, and they start shaking your car back and forth? Hopefully that'll never happen here. But we have to prepare as though it may happen. What are you going to do? Are you going to drive through the protesters? Are you going to run out of your car and get beat up? What are you going to do? These are the things that you better start thinking about right now. If, God forbid, these protesters, these rioters, turn from the downtown areas and into the suburbs, how are you going to protect your property? How are you going to protect your family? How are you going to protect people who may want to smash into your home? There was a report sent to me from our friends over at SS Outfitters, Highway 114 near Levelhead, that there has been at least some threats against police officers and people who are going throughout suburbs, looking at where officers' cars are parked at night and watching to see where officers' homes are. If that's true, that's a whole new level of security that you need to be thinking about. Having a license to carry is a smart thing. Having a firearm on you is a smart thing. It's not going to make you feel like Rambo, nor should it. It doesn't mean that you're going to be safe and secure 100% of the time. It means that you will have a chance if the mob finds you, if evil finds you. We pray for our nation. We pray for the health of our nation and for the good officers to rise above the bad officers and for the good demonstrators to rise above the bad demonstrators. But we also must protect ourselves during this time, and we have to be ready to see the violence that we've seen in the large cities eventually come to the smaller cities. And you better have a plan if that does occur. Hopefully it doesn't, but you better have a plan. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO.